The Sunday dinner was supposed to be normal. Plates clinked softly. My family filled my mother Linda's dining room with familiar chatter. I was passing a bowl of potatoes when my mother's voice cut through the noise. "It's just a fact," she announced, looking directly at me. "Tiffany, sweetheart, you've always been too irresponsible to be trusted with anything important." The room froze. My fork hovered midair. Before I could even breathe, the doorbell rang. My brother answered. A serious-looking man in a crisp suit stood there. "I'm looking for the person who authorized last month's financial transfers for the family trust," he said. He held a leather folder. My mother's eyes lit up with a strange gleam. The accountant's gaze swept the room and settled on me. "The authorization signature belongs to a Tiffany Walker." He opened the folder. There, on the top document, was a signature. My name. Written in a hand that looked exactly like mine. But I had never seen that paper before in my life. A cold wave washed over me. "That's not my signature," I whispered, my voice weak. The accountant, Mr. Evans, studied me. "The paperwork clearly indicates you approved a substantial transfer from the trust fund 3 weeks ago." My mother let out a dramatic gasp, clutching her chest. "I knew it. I knew she'd ruin us someday." She pointed a trembling finger at me. "After everything we've done for you." I stood up, my chair scraping loudly. "I didn't do this. I don't even have access to those documents." Mr. Evans looked between me and the paper, his expression unreadable. "The signature is a near-perfect match to the one we have on file from your inheritance paperwork," he stated calmly. "It's shockingly precise." His words hung in the silent room. Every pair of eyes burned into me. My husband, Mark, stared at his plate, saying nothing. The room erupted. "How could you, Tiffany?" my sister cried. "That money was for Grandma's care." My brother shook his head in disgust. "Always messing up, Tiff. Some things never change." Mark finally looked up, his face pale. "Just explain yourself, Tiffany." His lack of defense felt like a punch. My mother's performance intensified. A burden since childhood. I tried to protect the family from this. The humiliation was complete. Hot tears blurred my vision. I couldn't breathe. I turned and fled from the dining room, grabbing my coat. As I rushed past Mr. Evans at the door, he did something unexpected. He discreetly slipped a business card into my coat pocket. He leaned in slightly, his voice a low murmur only I could hear. "Call my office tomorrow. Something about this is off." Then I was out in the cold evening air, alone. I called Mr. Evans first thing Monday. His office was quiet, professional. "Mrs. Walker," he began, steepling his fingers. "I don't believe you did this." The relief was so sharp it hurt. "You don't?" I managed. "No. The forgery is technically excellent. But it's too perfect. Real signatures have subtle inconsistencies. This is a copy." He opened a different file. "There's more. This wasn't a one-time thing. There were multiple documents over the past 6 months. Bank authorizations, small fund reallocations. All with your signature." He slid a stack of photocopies toward me. I stared at my own name, written over and over by a stranger. "Who would do this?" I asked, my voice shaking. He met my gaze. "Someone who has studied your handwriting for a very, very long time." I drove home in a daze. Mark was at work. The house felt like a crime scene. I went straight to his home office, a room I rarely entered. It was his space. I started searching, my hands trembling. In the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet, behind mundane tax returns, I found it. A stack of unopened mail, all from financial institutions. All addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Walker. One envelope had a clear address window. Inside, I could see a document. At the bottom, visible through the plastic, was a slanted, familiar signature. my forged signature. The blood drained from my face. Just then, I heard the garage door open. Footsteps approached. The office door swung open. Mark stood there, his briefcase in hand. His eyes went from my face to the papers in my hand. His expression hardened. "What are you doing in here?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. I held up the envelope. "What is this, Mark? Why is our financial mail hidden? And why does it have my signature on it?" He didn't flinch. He walked in and closed the door softly. "You're overreacting, Tiffany. Like always. Your mother warned me you might spiral." He reached for the papers. "Let me handle this. You'll just make it worse." I pulled my hand back. "Make what worse?" "Someone is forging my name, Mark. This is serious." He sighed, a long, weary sound that was meant to make me feel childish. "It's probably a misunderstanding with the bank. I'll call them." "Just drop it." His calm was unnerving. It felt like a wall. "Why were you talking to my mother about me spiraling?" I pressed. He looked away, a flicker of something, guilt, crossing his face. "She's just concerned. We both are." I left the house, the envelope clutched in my purse. I drove to a quiet park and sat in my car, finally letting the sobs come. It wasn't just the forgery. It was Mark's calm dismissal. It was my mother's public cruelty. They were a team, and I was the problem they had to manage. The memory of every belittling comment, every time my ideas were called silly, every time Mark said "your mother knows best," crashed over me. This was their ultimate move. But as the tears dried, a cold, hard resolve settled in my chest. They had picked the wrong target. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and pulled out Mr. Evans's card. I dialed his number. When he answered, I asked, my voice now steady, "Mr. Evans. How deep does this really go?" Mr. Evans arranged a meeting with a forensic document examiner, a woman named Angela Price. Her office smelled of paper and ink. She spread the forged documents next to samples of my real signature from my driver's license and an old checkbook. She used a magnifier and a special light. "This is a high-quality forgery," Angela confirmed. The person practiced. "See the hesitation here on the T? They're thinking about the shape, not writing naturally." She then did something that chilled me. She pulled out another sheet. It showed handwriting samples I hadn't given her, notes in my mother's looping, dramatic script. "I took the liberty of comparing it to known samples from other parties you mentioned," Angela said. She pointed to specific letter formations. "The forger has stylistic habits that appear here, in Linda's writing. It's not conclusive, but it suggests familiarity." "What are you saying?" I whispered, feeling sick. "I'm saying the person who forged your signature likely learned by studying your writing, but their own natural handwriting traits occasionally bleed through. It's called controlled mimicry. Angela's words unlocked a memory. Years ago, when my grandmother was setting up the trust, Linda had bustled into my kitchen. "The lawyer needs a fresh signature sample, darling, just for the file. Quick, sign this blank page a few times." I'd been distracted, making lunch. I'd scribbled my name a dozen times without thinking. I'd never seen that paper again. I told Angela this story. She nodded slowly. "That would be a perfect practice sheet." This was planned for a long time. The room seemed to spin. My own mother had been collecting my signature for years, waiting for the right moment to use it. Back with Mr. Evans, we dug into the trust's electronic records. "Here's the strange part," he said, pointing at his screen. "The money wasn't stolen. It was moved from trust account A to account B, which is still under the trust's umbrella, just a different sub-account." "So where is it?" I asked. "Sitting there," he said. "But the authorization for the move, and the control of the new account, is linked to your forged signature. It makes it look like you recklessly shifted funds for no reason." He typed quickly, The mailing address for statements for account B, he paused, looking at me with pity. It's a P.O. box. Registered to a L. Walker. My mother's initial. The pieces were locking into place, but the picture they formed was monstrous. Armed with this, I confronted my siblings. I showed them the expert's notes about the forgery. My sister scoffed. So you hired some expert to blame Mom now? Pathetic. My brother was angrier. You got caught, Tiffany. Just admit it and stop dragging the family through more drama. I called Mark, telling him about the P.O. box. He was silent for a long moment. Your mother is just trying to safeguard the family's assets from unpredictable decisions. The betrayal was a physical pain. I was about to hang up when I heard a soft voice beside me. My teenage niece, Chloe, had been listening. She pulled me into the hallway, her eyes wide. Aunt Tiffany, she whispered urgently. I was at Grandma's last week, getting a sweater from her desk. She has a whole drawer full of papers with your name on them. I saw it. Linda was at her weekly bridge game. I used the spare key she'd never asked for back. Her house was still, smelling of polish and old perfume. My heart hammered against my ribs as I went to her ornate, roll-top desk. I found the locked drawer Chloe mentioned. A small, desperate search found the key hidden under a ceramic figurine. I opened it. Inside was a nightmare. Neatly filed were photocopies of every signature card I'd ever signed. My marriage license, old tax forms, birthday cards. Then, practice sheets. Pages and pages where someone had traced my signature, then tried to copy it freehand. The early attempts were shaky. The later ones were frighteningly accurate. At the bottom of the pile was a single, recent document, a draft proposal to the family company's board, suggesting I be removed from any financial oversight due to proven instability. I heard the distinct sound of a car pulling into the gravel driveway. Then another. Linda was home. And she wasn't alone. I shoved everything back, locked the drawer, and replaced the key. I darted into the nearby guest bathroom, closing the door just as the front door opened. I stood frozen, barely breathing. I heard Linda's loud, cheerful voice. And it's all falling into place. She was on speakerphone. Mark's voice echoed tinny from the phone. Are you sure she bought it? Of course she did. Linda laughed. She's emotional. She always cracks under pressure. This little scandal will make sure the board finally votes to remove her from the trust committee. Once she's out, control defaults to me as senior advisor. We can finally push through the changes. Mark's voice was cautious. And the money in the new account? A temporary holding place, Linda said dismissively. Once Tiffany is officially deemed irresponsible, we'll redistribute it. To us. Where it should have gone all along. She served her purpose. I waited in the stifling silence of the bathroom until I heard them move to the kitchen. I slipped out the front door, my phone clutched in my hand. I had pressed record as soon as I heard Mark's voice. I had the evidence. But now, anger was replaced by a cold, clear strategy. Confronting them would lead to more denials, more drama they could use against me. I needed to be smarter. I went to see Mr. Evans. I played him the recording. His face was grim. This is conspiracy and fraud, he said. You need a lawyer. A good one. I agreed. We need to document everything. Every forgery, every transfer, this recording. He nodded. This is bigger than a trust fund, Tiffany. This is about your name, your reputation, and your future. With my new lawyer, a sharp woman named Amanda Pierce, we connected all the dots. Amanda obtained the board's upcoming meeting agenda. Buried in the items was a motion, proposed by Linda, to reconsider fiduciary appointments based on recent demonstrated judgment. The attached evidence was the initial forged transfer document. They're not just stealing from you, Amanda explained. They're using the forgery to publicly brand you as incompetent. That gets you removed from the family company's oversight board. With you gone, Linda consolidates power. Mark likely gets a promoted role as the stable spouse cleaning up the mess. The full, ugly picture was clear. They were trading my reputation for their power and money. I felt a strange calm. So, I asked Amanda, my voice steady. How do I stop them, legally and permanently? Amanda's plan was methodical. We do not tip our hand. We continue to let them believe you are defeated and confused. She filed a formal, private affidavit with the court detailing the suspected forgery, attaching Angela the examiner's preliminary report. This created a legal paper trail timed before the board meeting. She also sent a sealed, confidential memo to the board's independent chairman, warning of a potential fraudulent scheme without naming names, urging caution on any fiduciary votes. We gather every shred of evidence. We wait for them to make their move publicly. Then, we present our case, not as an accusation, but as a defense with irrefutable proof. The strategy was to turn their own stage against them. The board meeting, Amanda said, isn't your downfall. It's your courtroom. The next 2 weeks were an act. I saw Linda at a family lunch. I looked downcast, picking at my food. I'm just so embarrassed by all this, I mumbled to her. She patted my hand, oozing false sympathy. We'll get it sorted, dear. Some people just aren't built for financial matters. Mark was distant, spending more time working late. I didn't fight it. I played the part of the remorseful, overwhelmed wife. I even called Linda and apologized for causing a scene at dinner. Her smugness was palpable through the phone. The day before the board meeting, she called me. Sweetheart, it's for the best. Stay away from the meeting tomorrow. It's going to be technical and boring, and honestly, you'll just embarrass yourself further. I agreed softly. You're probably right, Mom. I hung up and looked at Amanda, who gave me a fierce smile. Perfect. The board meeting was in a sleek downtown conference room. Through the glass wall, I could see Linda at the table, speaking animatedly to a few members. Mark sat in a chair against the wall, looking solemn and responsible. Amanda and I waited in the hall. At the appointed time, when the chairman called for discussion of the fiduciary motion, we entered. The conversation died instantly. Linda's smile vanished, replaced by shock, then anger. Mark straightened up, his eyes wide. Tiffany, the chairman said, surprised. This is a closed session. I understand, sir, I said, my voice clear and carrying. But as the subject of this motion, I believe I have the right to respond. And before you proceed, I have some critical documents to submit for the record. Amanda handed packets to each board member. Linda stood up. This is highly inappropriate. She's trying to disrupt. Sit down, Linda, the chairman said, his tone leaving no room for argument. He put on his glasses and began to read. The room was silent except for the rustle of paper. The packet contained Angela's full forensic report, highlighting the forgery. It showed side-by-side comparisons of my real signature, the forgeries, and Linda's handwriting samples. It included the trust records showing the money trail to the P.O. box. Linda's face went from red to ashen. This is fabricated, she sputtered. I spoke calmly. Page 7 shows the bank's confirmation of the P.O. box ownership. L. Walker. The bank has security footage from the day it was opened if the board requires it. I saw the members' faces shift from curiosity to stern concern. Linda's composure shattered. She's lying. She's planting evidence because she got caught. She's always been a manipulative little, enough, the chairman barked. He turned to Mark. Mark, you're her husband. What do you know about this? Mark looked like a trapped animal. He glanced at Linda, then at me. I don't know about any forgery. I just know Tiffany has been under stress. It was a weak, non-answer. Just then, the conference room door opened again. Mr. Evans walked in, holding a single, large envelope. My apologies for the intrusion, he said. As the trust accountant, I have urgent, time-sensitive evidence that directly pertains to this matter. Linda stared at him, her mouth a thin, angry line. The chairman nodded for him to continue. Mr. Evans removed a document from the envelope. After Mrs. Walker first reported her concerns to me, I placed a confidential alert on the trust for any further activity. He laid the paper on the table. It was another transfer authorization, dated just 4 days ago, after my confrontation with Mark and my investigation had begun. It bore my forged signature, attempting to move more funds. Someone tried to initiate another transaction, doubling down to make the pattern of irresponsibility seem ongoing and deliberate. The chairman leaned forward. And? Mr. Evans produced a second sheet. The bank's digital security log shows the online portal to initiate this was accessed from an IP address registered to Mark Walker's office. The timestamp is 2:15 p.m. last Tuesday. All eyes swiveled to Mark. He had gone deathly pale. Furthermore, Mr. Evans said, his voice cool and precise, the bank, upon my request, performed an enhanced scan on the hard copy they received. They found a partial fingerprint in the margin of this latest document. He placed a lab report on top. It matches Mark Walker. The room erupted in murmurs. Linda's facade finally collapsed completely. She whirled on Mark, her eyes blazing with pure fury. You idiot, she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. You were supposed to be careful. I told you not to touch anything after she got suspicious. The slip was fatal. A stunned silence followed her outburst. Mark flinched as if struck. He looked at the board, at my unflinching gaze, and then at the floor. His shoulders slumped. In a voice barely above a whisper, he admitted, I only did the last one. To make it look consistent. To protect Linda's plan. The consequences were swift and severe. The board called an immediate emergency vote. Linda was removed from all her positions on the family trust and company board, effective instantly. Mark was suspended from his role as a family business consultant, pending a full audit and potential legal action. A motion was passed to restore full and sole control of the trust assets to me, with Mr. Evans appointed as independent auditor for the next year. The chairman looked at me with respect. Mrs. Walker, on behalf of the board, I apologize for what you've endured. Your restraint and diligence have been remarkable. We would value your insights as a consulting member going forward, if you're willing. After the meeting, Linda approached me in the empty hall, her eyes desperate. Tiffany, please. Don't let them take everything from me. I'm your mother. I looked at the woman who had spent a lifetime diminishing me and had just tried to destroy me. I felt no rage, only a deep, weary pity. I'm not going to destroy you, Linda, I said, my voice quiet. You did that yourself. I won't press additional charges if you resign fully and repay any legal fees the trust incurred. But the board's decisions stand. The legal consequences for the forgery will proceed. I won't interfere. It wasn't forgiveness. It was accountability. She searched my face for the weakness she always relied on. It wasn't there anymore. Her defiance finally crumbled, replaced by a hollow confusion. As she turned to leave, she whispered one last, bitter truth over her shoulder, a testament to how deeply she had misjudged me. You were always supposed to be the weak one. In the following weeks, I filed for divorce. Mark didn't contest it. The truth had freed me in every way. I moved into a bright apartment with a view of the city, a space that was entirely my own. I accepted the consulting role on the board, my input now heard and respected. One afternoon, Mr. Evans came to my new place with the final audit report. He handed me the thick, bound document. On the front page, under "Cleared of all discrepancies," was my name, written in clean, official type. There you are, he said with a small, kind smile. Fully vindicated. You weren't irresponsible, Tiffany. You were the only honest one in the room. I took the report, feeling its solid weight. I closed the cover, my fingers resting on my name, my real name, my own life, finally reclaimed. I was free.